Welcome to Syd and Malcolm exclusively on malcolmpresents.com. And that's Syd Mandelbaum. Introduce our guest.
Okay, our guest is Jay Greenbaum. Jay Greenbaum has been a member of Rock and Wrap It Up for many years as a supporter of ours, enabling us to raise funds through the fundraiser that he has supported by attending, as well as contributions. I had a physical condition a year and a half ago where I needed my knee replaced. And
Froze.
Yeah, for whatever reason, you're freezing, Syd.
what's that?
Yeah, for whatever reason, you're freezing. Actually, the last 2 weeks it happened like that. I'm not sure why. Because normally we're pretty good.
Should I continue?
Yeah, continue. I'll see if I could edit that out. And,
Okay.
Again, this is reality TV or show or Zoom. What you see is what you get.
Yep.
So I needed help, and I reached out to Jay if he could do my morning pickups for
Yeah, he's going.
You want to start again?
No, well, let's continue. I don't know. It's because I don't think it's going to help. If not, it's me and you, Jay.
Oh, that's all right. Jay
That works.
Jay could do this himself.
Yeah, I think you might be tired from the weekend, Syd.
So Jay started doing food recovery with us, feeding thousands of people who were picking up from Costco, Chipotle, Panera, local bagel stores, and
Yeah.
our clients really are dependent on our food recovery efforts. So by Jay doing this, there was no change on their level of not getting food.
Mm-hmm.
Then we started a project which Jay was intimately involved with called the Veteran Farmers Market. Saturday,
I'll tell you, Syd.
Recovered from food.
Well, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to Jay and have him fill you in because right now you're
you're too patchy and freezing.
you're too patchy. So I'm going to let Jay fill us in.
But you reminded me, Syd, because I haven't thought about those days in a while. So yes, just to go back
Go ahead.
and kind of fluidly give that background. Yeah, Syd and I know each other a long, long time. I've always supported the effort. I think it was just brilliant at when I first learned about it. When my kids were young, my youngest two kids, I tuned into Rock and Wrap It Up by virtue of the Thanksgiving effort over at the church that we used to go to. Now it's at the community center, but I would take them on Thanksgiving Day, as a lot of parents like to do that kind of volunteer work. And, they were, God, I don't even think they were 10 years old yet. Now they're in their mid to late 20s, but they were known as the Cranberry Girls because they were relegated to putting the cranberry from the cans into these little baggies, which were part of the takeaway that we fed families that they could come and bring stuff home to feed their families. And that's when we first started to know each other. And yes, golf outings and concerts and all kinds of things. And a few years ago, I said to Syd, I want to get my hands dirty. I want to really get involved more in the actual activity of what you guys are up to. So the timing was right where Syd was going in for that surgery. And, so I really dove in head first, and it was an amazing experience. I mean, again, some of it's not glamorous at all. Actually, none of it's really glamorous, but it's just incredible work. And, it's so fulfilling when you see both ends of it, not only on the end where people are the recipients, the organizers of these food pantries in the community center and in Syd's own driveway, the veterans that are the recipients, but the people that are donating are so thrilled that this is happening. And now we've done Thanksgiving turkey pickups at the supermarkets, delivered them to restaurants who do the cooking of the turkeys, picking them up, dropping them back off at the community center. It's just, you see how people are desperate to help. And it just shows you that as a human beings, what ultimately we all really want to do, and you had mentioned it before we started taping, having to do with stress. And I think the biggest thing that helps us alleviate stress and pressure is to take ourselves out of our own bodies, our own minds, our own heads, and give back and help others who are less fortunate. And it doesn't take away our situation that's causing us the stress, but it definitely, gives some perspective and helps us get through our own stuff, I think, a little more easily.
It's I forget who said it, but it's they said, I always cried I didn't have new shoes until I met someone who had no feet.
Of course.
There's
so many
always
ways.
yeah.
I think showing gratitude. I read, actually, I'm doing a talk. I had mentioned to you guys before, I'm doing a talk tomorrow for about a dozen 17-year-olds, talking about, life and giving some pearls of wisdom. What would have been something I would have loved to have heard when I was 17 years old. I don't know if I was in the frame of mind to hear anything when I was 17.
Yeah, but that's a problem.
Yeah, well, back in those days. But this is, and I'm not looking to sell this guy's books, but Think Like a Monk. Yeah. This was terrific. So there's some great things in there. He becomes he tries to, switch his whole life around and become a monk, but he can't. So after about 3 years, he gives up on it, but he learned a tremendous amount. And in that, he writes this book and, life's lessons about how to show gratitude. And really that's the way to our own salvation. So it's really interesting. But, at our stage of life, it's easier to talk about doing that stuff than when you're in the throes of raising a family, fighting for that job, struggling to pay bills. It's tough. It's tough.
Well, as I say, life happens while you're making plans.
There you go. So so one of the things maybe Syd was going to allude to. Syd, jump in anytime. Are you alive or frozen there still? Oh no, I think he's still frozen.
But you can't.
Yeah, you're still frozen. So we'll keep talking.
But can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yes. It's just sketchy. It's choppy. So
you'll have to listen to the show once it's over.
Yeah. One of the things I like to talk about, and maybe Syd would have alluded to it. So for some reason, actually, it's my kids were involved in a swim club and then swim team at the local high school. I never swam other than, just splashing around. I didn't own a bike and I'd never run a mile in my life. I'll cut to the chase. I started swimming laps in the high school pool. 2 laps became 10 became more and more and more. I got a bike. I started running a little bit. I started doing very short distance triathlons. And this was around when I just turned 50. So I'll be 64 years old next in January. So, we're talking about only in the last 12, 13 years did this stuff come on in my life. So I've done 6 complete full 140.6 mile Ironman triathlons.
Wow.
So that's 2.4 swim, 112 on the bike. And after you're done with that, you get off the bike after you're sick of the bike and you don't want to get on a bike ever again. And then you only have to run a marathon of 26.2 miles.
Have you done the one in Hawaii?
No, I'm not fast enough to qualify for that, but I've done 3 in Lake Placid. I did one and only in New York City. It was too overwhelming for them to put it on again. They only did one time, which was pretty nifty. But I did one in Maryland, and it coincided with a trip to visit my oldest daughter who lives in Melbourne, Australia. I did one in Melbourne, Australia.
Well, I feel dwarfed by you. I've only done 3 marathons. I've done one,
Have you?
one New York and two
That's-
Los Angeles. But
That is awesome.
I think I did my first, I was 49 years old.
That's
Something like you.
awesome. So you can relate. I'm doing New York again in November. I'm doing another half Ironman in September in Atlantic City, but New York Marathon, and then actually coming full circle with the reason why I guess you guys wanted me on, and the reason why Syd and I know each other. Charity. I've always done things for to fundraise and use use it as a platform. New York Marathon is the biggest fundraiser I think in the world. They kind of make you do it if you, other than getting in through lotteries and stuff, but they sell their slots to organizations to then go out and to their constituents and say, hey, who wants to raise money for us? So I'm on the team for AFSP, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention this year. I've run it for multiple myeloma and various other things. So yeah, it's,
I think that's fairly
stuff.
new. Again, the last one I did, I said to say 30 years ago, because I had spinal stenosis, and the doctor said if I continue running that much, I'm not going to be able to walk. So now I'm sort of walking and running like
that's great.
between 5K and 10K.
Dick Van Dyke said it best in his book. The name of the book, Keep Moving.
Yeah.
Brilliant book. Just wonderful. It's just such a great, terrific, uplifting, and he definitely, you want to read something great and just, his views of a lot of things, just marvelous. So
Well, that's what
I don't know. I was going to say, I don't know if he's still alive, but he wrote the book in his
no, he
mid-90s.
is. I think
Alive is
I think 96 or something.
Amazing.
And
Awesome.
and he still dances. You see him in the show, he does.
Still dances, and he's married to a woman, if they're still married, to half his age.
Yeah. That's a good reason to keep in shape.
Terrific stuff. But the reason why I bring up Ironman, and perhaps you can relate in a way with having run some marathons, I use that as a metaphor for our lives. There are times in those races, those events. For me, it was never a race. It was just getting to the end. Within, and they give you a prescribed time, 17 hours, and I always knew I was going to get there. But there are those moments in those events where you literally are crying, possibly outwardly, tears out, let alone the pain and crying inwardly. And you just, in your head, the demons come in and overcome you, and you can't take another step, but you keep going. You keep putting one step in front of the other. And so it's a great metaphor for our lives also. When those days come along, where you just feel like you can't go on anymore and you just want it to be over, you have to plow through and use all the tools that you could possibly find and dig deep and get through it. And, working with Syd and Diane and helping out wherever I can, those, and showing gratitude, all these things, it sounds corny and stuff, but it really, really helps. It really makes it possible to get through those tough days.
Right. Well, you have to visualize what you're doing it for. I mean, like, or what the end could be, at least what you do. Like when I did marathons, I always visualized if I discontinue, I'm going to come to the end of it. I'm going to do the marathon. I will complete it, even though I might be the last to finish, even though my legs are hurting, even though whatever it is, I know I'm going to complete. I think that's, I don't know, Syd, do you feel like that also with feeding? Do you envision, people enjoying and, what you're doing?
I don't. What me going is that every morning I'm doing, because feeding is something that has to be done 7 days a week, 3 meals a day. I feel that I just to do it a day for people to eat, and I personalize it for me. But I always feel that I should be doing more, and that's what I get when I wake up in the morning.
You have mentioned that.
That is my demon. It kicks me in the head and says, "Get out
Do you ever take a day off?
No.
I mean, we had like a 3-day weekend for July 4th, but you work every morning. You do your food or
Well,
I wonder if he turns the computer off and turns it back on again,
I
logs
don't
off.
know. No,
So
we had a little time last week with the problem. I think the problem is with his computer or
Yeah, no, Sid, maybe log off and then log back on. It might help because we didn't hear really anything you said.
All right.
let me try
If
that.
not, I'll continue. I'll continue
Yeah.
with Jay.
But I heard a little bit of
You guys
what,
continue.
but
Continue.
yeah, you know what? It's funny because I always say to Sid, I said, you guys, you know what? Let me pick up some slack. Let me, take a day off. And what's so wonderful about them, but I understand it's also so fulfilling. They don't want, Sid doesn't want to. He wants to be there in the trenches as much as possible all the time, because that is what is so fulfilling to him. And he loves the action. He loves meeting with the people, and he loves seeing the gratitude on both sides of the equation. And whenever I say, hey, I'll come in and take some of the burden off you. No, it's okay. I got it. So.
Well, I mean, I know something of that. Of course, I do some volunteer work, but not as much as you guys. But I remember when I was I mentioned the story when I graduated college. I'm from New York City. When I graduated college, it was almost mandatory to go to psychoanalysis. You went to a shrink because to me, a shrink was continuing education. The better you know yourself, the better able you are to succeed in life.
That's 100%. And I think people today is actually part of my talk before we got on. I was preparing some of the notes that I want to go through with these kids tomorrow. And one of the words I like to use, all right, he's back.
He's back. I see his stomach and
yeah.
You're all right.
Yeah, now you'll.
Is that any better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right now you're okay.
Yes.
That's great.
Now you're perfect.
But as I say, don't give it a Kanahara.
Yeah.
I think he's.
Thanks.
Yeah. He was just kidding us. He froze on purpose.
Right. But anyway, as I was saying, I found out not so much in individual therapy, but when I went to group therapy, the best I felt is when I can contribute to somebody else and see them and help them with their problem.
Right.
And they knew it. And I felt so fulfilled.
Helping others. So we started, and I don't let me forget, because let's the word authenticity. That's I think that I heard on a TED talk not that long ago. I don't know when it was filmed, but our society suffers from ADD, authenticity deficit disorder. And I think we live in a world where people are, and especially young people with social media, are so pressured to be something else, and being authentic is sometimes not so easy. So it's being authentic, surrounding ourselves with people that appreciate us for who we are and allow us to be authentic. I mean, I can't imagine a better situation than Diane allowing Syd to be who he is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, he wouldn't be who he is if it weren't for Diane.
I'll tell you flat out. I told my wife that we're in a second marriage. I'm better this time around.
Right.
Well, I keep. It's freezing again.
Yeah, we'll be married 45 years.
That's great.
I keep on getting amazed. Every new show I do with Syd, I get amazed on what he does and his accomplishments. As a matter of fact, if you didn't come aboard our show, we were going to do something based on Syd's work with Holocaust victims and post-Holocaust. And I wanted to talk. In fact, I was talking about maybe doing something on anti-Semitism, which seems to be rearing up its ugly head all over the world. It's not only in this country, which it always was a problem. And the reasons for this, we want to talk the reasons for this, and and try to do like never again. But then you came aboard, and we decided to go back to the original theme of the show, which I love. I mean, he has introduced me to people such as yourself, which I'm amazed at, that there's so many people in the world that volunteer, that do the good work, that don't want really any other recognition than to have somebody thank them and see what, and see it and see their, work being realized when you see people eating and grateful for it.
It feels good to do good.
Yeah.
And one thing I found, there are great people all over this country. I have people all over the United States that have bought into their individual work to feed others. And all I am is just kind of a guide, and they're the ones that do the work. But, once they realize earlier,
Keep
nothing
talking.
that replaces the feeling that, nothing replaces the feeling that we get knowing that someone is eating because of our work.
Yeah.
And whether it's in LA, whether it's in Connecticut, whether it's in Texas, we have people all over this country that's the engine, that's the fuel in the engine. That internal need to help others is the fuel. And fuel in order to work their engine.
There's the. Go ahead, Malcolm. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying. I'm a believer in the Charles Schulz cartoons. He is one of the great philosophers of our time, and I think it was Charlie Brown was talking to Lucy, and Charlie Brown was saying, "I have so many things to do, blah blah blah," and he had so many things to do. It's sort of like he was frozen. He didn't know where to start. And Lucy said, "Why don't you start with number one? Do number one, and then you go to number two. Do number two, and so on and so forth." Well, you guys are an example. If everybody, an example of that. If you think of the whole gestalt of everything you have to do, it's overwhelming. But you're doing it one day at a time, one group at a time, feeding one person at a time. Of course, your one person is multiplied, but you're doing that. You're doing something to go to the next step.
Again, metaphor. Think of the metaphor. Think of a marathon. Think of Ironman. It's a great metaphor. If we think of life in its entirety, it's too overwhelming.
Yeah.
When we think of the world and all the problems, it's too overwhelming. That's why I love what we're doing on a very local. I mean, Syd's doing it all over the country. Just the little bit that we're doing locally, it's tremendous. And this is what we can do and make a difference on a local level. And it's so important and meaningful, and to some degree, not to be oblivious to what's going on in the world and all the problems going on, but it's too much. It's too overwhelming. And I think people get caught up in it, and and then you become paralyzed, and it it affects us and affects the way we can be, the best we can be.
Right. I've been doing another show called The Many Shades of Green. I don't know if you listened to it on Malcolm Presents.
I'll check it out.
But basically, she's the one who introduced me to Syd, Maxine Margot Rubin. And basically, we're talking about ecology and what's happening with the world, and the carbon footprint, and sometimes they say, what the hell are we going to do? What are we going to do about it? And there's one thing that I've been putting on, some of the shows that I've been doing. I've been like in outer space, saying, well, maybe the world is going to destroy itself, and maybe that. I mean, again, that's maybe the ultimate thing. We're going to always do our best, but
watching Attenborough and doing some of those, nature and things that are happening, it's very depressing. But George Carlin said it best back in the 70s. Remember George Carlin, of course?
Yeah, he said, fuck it all.
He basically said, no, we're not. He said, for all those people that want to save the planet's going to be here a trillion years from now, just like it's been. We're just destroying ourselves.
Yeah, we may not be here.
And think of COVID. When COVID hit, a few weeks into it, a few months into it, everything was, the rivers were getting cleaner, the air was miraculously cleaner. So think about when we're gone, the earth will be wonderful.
The earth, I think there'll be roaches and ants and trees and.
So what's the moral what's the moral of it? The moral is do everything we can right now to enjoy, but to make a difference, because at the end of the day, we're not that important. I just remembered what I wanted to say before. We started, when I say we, a buddy of mine, there's a whole history there. I'm not going to get into it. We started what we call the Macho Foundation. Macho standing for My Actions Can Help Others.
Very good. Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. And so, it's all the same concept as, and it could be the littlest thing, somebody sitting alone at a lunch table in a cafeteria. This could be the day that they decided to take their own life, and someone simply sitting down next to them and just having a conversation might dissuade them from not even talking about it, just make them feel a little bit better. So every single thing we do, every conversation that we have, every action that we do, if it's in a positive, wonderful way, we just don't know how it might affect people. How many times in our lives have someone come to us and say, hey, I remember what you told me 3 years ago or 5 years ago or what, and we have no clue what they're talking about. And then they repeat what we said and we don't even remember saying it. But that comment possibly changed their life.
Right.
So one of the things that I talk about in my talks to kids and whoever wants to listen is to talk to everyone, be nice to everyone, keep our minds and our ears and our minds open to the possibilities. The conversation that we have next can change our life in ways that we can't even possibly imagine.
Yeah, we had something this morning that Jay doesn't know about because we just haven't talked about it. We start our day together at a loading dock at Trader Joe's.
I want to hear this. You're frozen.
Myself, Pat, who is a volunteer, and Diane, who runs the loading dock. Well, after I had the farmer's market this morning, I get a phone call from Trader Joe's at 11:45. Syd, the other agency didn't come.
Come back.
Can you send somebody over here? And Diane and I got in the car and picked up another 20 cases of food and flour, Jay, and brought them to the facility. And it was only because a woman who helped bring the stuff out said to herself, I'm not going to let this stuff go to waste. I'm going to call Rock and Wrap It Up.
Brilliant.
Called us, and of course we wouldn't say no.
Right.
But she was motivated to make that phone call, knowing that we had another 1,000 pounds of food on the loading dock. So because Jay and Diana earlier doing what we do, taking stuff that would have been thrown away, she felt the need to reach out to us and say, look, they've done it. I can't ethically not call them. So our actions gave her a speed bump in her head to say, I can't throw this stuff out. And it's fact. It was the same stuff, Jay, that we picked up that she divided in half to give to the other church. So Diane and I went there, and it was 50 20-pound bags of Yukon Gold potatoes.
And that's Yukon's gold.
and 25 pounds of papaya.
I mean, the moral of what you guys do is, or what I'm getting out of this whole conversation, you shouldn't concentrate on what you can't do or what has to be done, but concentrate on what you are doing and how it's benefiting people.
That's what keeps us going.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking of that girl at Trader Joe's. She's gonna go home tonight and feel so great about her job because of what we do.
Right. Or what she did, and she knows.
Of course, well, what she
we do
did.
is show up.
Yeah, no, but it all factors into
Right.
her job satisfaction, her life satisfaction.
Absolutely.
It's so cool. It's just so cool. And it's all positive energy. When I hear people that you ask people, say, how's it going? And they answer, same shit, different day. I just want to, it's like, are you kidding me? Why? It doesn't have to be that way.
Exactly.
Change it, do something.
Well,
But people stuck. They're stuck.
I just discovered, within the year during the pandemic, and I've been doing these, podcasts, these Zoom casts, and I keep on getting, different shows about different themes. One of my favorite, of course, is Syd Malcolm, because I'm just amazed on what he does. Aside from the food and everything, his diversification. I don't know if you've ever sit down and talked to him and what he's done and what he's involved with. It's amazing.
We've spent some time together. It's been an education.
Yeah, I almost want to make a statue of him and go, and sit by him and say, okay, Syd, tell me the secrets of life.
But anyway, don't ask him. Don't ask him how to drive a humongous truck around with about 30 turkeys in the trunk.
Well, I want to find out, to be selfish, I want to find out how I can get tickets to the Dodger games and good seats. Because I find out, I'm a baseball fan, and I used to have connections where I could call up the front office and get some good tickets. Now I don't have those connections anymore. So now those tickets that are good, that I like, are all house seats. They're not for sale. So
not even on the StubHub.
No, you can't buy them.
Well, if you want to go to a Yankee game, I have a place that they let me take my volunteers to, called the Judge's Chamber. It's 18 seats owned by Aaron Judge, and he gave us 36 seats 2 weeks ago, and I was able to get 17 each night. Most of them, our volunteers, mainly clergy. Reverend Pickett was there, by the way. She came, and she brought Wendy, who was her helper, there. And I had this guy, Daryl Smith, come. Daryl does my food pickups on Saturdays. And I had...
Yeah, again, we have to send a technician over your house to find out why you're freezing now and then.
Oh.
Anyway,
I'll have to get my...
Jay, what do you do in I say in real life? What do you do to? What's your question?
My opening line when I do some of my talks is 63 years old or whatever age that I'm doing the talk at, and I still have no idea what I want to do when I grow up. But I was fortunate to. It took a long way. I started at age 21 in the life insurance selling business, which was, although very necessary, and I respect the people that are really devoted to that world, financial planning and all that. I did that for about 15 to 20 years, I guess successful at some level, but then I morphed into corporate insurance benefits. So I handle companies' health insurance plans, dental plans, long-term disability, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I'm still doing it.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that, because that's my pet line when I speak to people and I say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they look at me because they could be in the 30s and 40s, and I said, hey, I'm in my 70s. I don't know what I'm going to be when I grow up. I haven't truly grown up, so to speak.
Who wants to grow up? I one time I thanked, I have 5 daughters, by the way.
Oh, good
That
luck.
was that. We missed that in the introductory to talk, but I said to my kids one time, I said, I really appreciate and I thank you very much for allowing me to grow up with you.
Mm.
And they said, but Dad, you're not grown up. So that I took as the best compliment they could ever give me.
Well, I figure with 5 daughters and a wife, you better be rich because you have to have the bathroom space.
I am, as one of my kids said one time, a long time ago, when we did a bike ride past all the rich people's homes, I said, but we're rich in love.
Yeah.
So
But you-
yes, and I have 2 female. Not only do I have 2 female dogs, but my oldest 2 daughters are gay, so I got 2 daughters-in-law.
Wow.
But I do have a son-in-law. There is male in there, and I have a granddaughter, but there's also a grandson. So there's some male species in there.
Oh, okay. Well,
Little bit.
yeah. Well, I think it was Eddie Cantor who had 5 daughters.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, as long as you mention it's the sleepaway camp that I'm going to tomorrow, was a large part of the funding back in the early 1900s was Eddie Cantor.
Oh.
And I will be, and actually, Syd, you watched it earlier, that talk was given in the Eddie Cantor Theater.
Oh,
Huh?
Yes.
Anyway, guys, we probably passed our time about 10 minutes ago.
It's been fun. Wow. How did that go so fast?
Yes, I hope you enjoyed it. And to the people listening to it, sorry about the delays with Syd, with the freezing, but that's life in the Zoom lane. And we're going to play it. And Syd, see if you could find one of your, if there's any volunteer out there that worked with Syd, could you take a look at his computer to see why we're not, his internet, to see why he's freezing? Because I'm not freezing and Jay's not freezing.
it must
Yeah,
be.
right now. Right now you're good,
It
but,
must be you, Syd.
Anyway, I'll have my wife look into it. She's the CEO, is his chief everything else officer.
You sound like me. If I can't do it, give it to my wife.
There you
Or
go.
if I can't open it, here, Anna, open it for me. Anyway, guys, good speaking to you.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime, just let all your friends know what Syd. Tell the people on your mailing list and your internet, and because we want this show to grow and grow and grow. You're worthy of it. Anyway,
Good
guys,
stuff.
have a great
Thanks,
week.
guys.
Bye.
Have a
Take care.
great night. Jay, we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, Malcolm.
Bye.